So today we'll do a quick recap of the SARFAESI provisions that we have covered. And moving ahead, we will cover section 15, in which the management of the borrower will be taken over. Plus, we will also cover the ESI rules, right? And then we will also cover the provisions with respect to the central registry. And at last, we'll cover the appeal provisions in the SARFAESI. Okay. So SARFAESI, as we had already learned, that SARFAESI, it has got three activities, 1, 2, and 3. And also, while we will do recap, I am going to ask you some questions also. So be ready to answer those questions as well. Now, first of all, what is the SA activity? What is this activity?
Securitization,
Securitization activity. What is this?
reconstruction of financial assets,
And what is this?
enforcement of security,
Very good. Enforcement of security interest takes place under which section?
13.
13.
13,
Reconstruction of financial asset?
9.
9,
9. Securitization?
7, 8.
7. Right. Perfect. So we have the provisions of securitization, reconstruction of financial assets, and also we have the provisions for the enforcement of security interest. Now to do securitization, you need to incorporate asset reconstruction company, which is incorporated under section 3, and from 3 till section 8 we have the provisions for the securitization. And then we have section 9, which is for the reconstruction of the financial asset, and then we have section 13, which is for the enforcement of security interest. Now we all know that SARFAESI came as an ordinance, right? And then objective was to empower the banks and the financial institutions so that they can recover their dues without the intervention of the court, plus also to enable the asset reconstruction company to do the securitization activity. Now, SARFAESI was not effective because of these reasons: political interference, poor enforcement of the law, provisions had become OTOs, and then corruption. Also, before the SARFAESI, we had this recovery of debt due to the Banks and the Financial Institution Act. Now, just understand this act is now changed. Okay. Now, this act is called as Recovery of Debt and Bankruptcy Act. Now, it is Recovery of Debt and Bankruptcy Act. Now, why this has been changed? Can anyone just roughly answer this? If you can give a blind attempt to this, why the name has been changed? You all can answer. That's why. You all can answer this question. Because earlier this was only covering the provisions of DRT, DRT. Of course, the debt recovery tribunal and the debt recovery appellate tribunal was there, and only banks and financial institutions could go for filing a suit of recovery. But now we have, I think I have an answer in the comment section also. Correct. Because now even the insolvency provision is also right after IBC for individuals and partnership firm. Again, the appellate authority is the debt recovery tribunal, and that's the reason it is no longer recovery of debts due to the banks and the financial institutions. Now it also covers the bankruptcy proceedings. That's why we have RDB Act. Okay, so just remember, so certain places where you will find RDB Act and some places you will find RDDBFI Act. So just understand that there is nothing wrong. There is no change in this. It's exactly same, right? So there's no printing error or something. Now the name has been changed. Then you have the constitutional validity, which was challenged. And this is the case name. Unfortunately, the name of the case is written here. Otherwise, I would have asked. The Supreme Court upheld that this is why. Because again, reasonable opportunity is given. Default happens after 90 days, the account becomes the NPA, or rather, instead of using the default, make non-payment. Instead of default, make the word non-payment. Why? Because default is again after 90 days only, right? So this, after that, the opportunity of reasonable opportunity of being heard is given because you give 60 days notice to the borrower, and thereafter the enforcement of security interest takes place. Now this is what is there in the SARFAESI. So borrower takes loan, and then he creates the security interest in favor of the bank. Bank transfers that security interest to the asset reconstruction company, and they issue the security receipts to the qualified buyer. Thereafter, when the borrower pays money to the asset reconstruction company, which is again used for the payments of the dues to the qualified buyers. However, if the borrower defaults, then in that case, they'll not go to the court or DRT or to NCLT. Then after giving the notice, they can straight away go to the asset, basically borrower, and do the enforcement of security interest. Then we also covered steps of securitization. So step one, the borrower will approach the bank and the financial institution for the loan. Then bank will sanction the loan by creating a security interest. Then bank will create a special purpose vehicle. Okay, one more thing. It's not mandatory that the bank is going to incorporate a asset reconstruction company. Bank can independently enter into a transaction with the asset reconstruction company also. Okay, so that's what is here. So bank either creates a SPV, which is the ARC, or it will approach the ARC. That is the asset reconstruction company. It will transfer the security interest. Then based on the security interest, ARC will issue the security receipts to the qualified buyer. And the amount collected by the ARC from the qualified buyer is again then transferred to the bank or the financial institution. And how does the bank earns, or how does the qualified, the asset reconstruction company earns? Because the interest which is paid to the qualified buyers will be less as compared to the interest which will be received from the borrower. Now, guys, tell me, Mansi, you answer. How does this work? How does this work? Is this point clear? For example, interest received in our example, we had taken interest received is
18%,
18%. But here when they
16,
will pay, they'll pay, let's say 15%
12%,
interest, 12% interest, whatever. It will be less than 18. So whatever the difference is, the difference
6.
is the, yes, the difference is the income or the own return for the bank as well as for the ARC. So interest received from the borrower is used for the paying the periodical returns to the qualified buyer. Now tell me one thing, what happens when the borrower defaults? What happens when the borrower defaults?
ARC is responsible.
Right? So ARC will be responsible. So if the borrower defaults, the loss will be borne by the ARC and not the qualified buyers. Make sense? Okay, then we saw that section 3, which provides for the registration, and then section 4, which provides for the cancellation. Right, again, registration, you have to meet the conditions. If you don't meet the conditions, then the registration will get cancelled. So asset reconstruction company, earlier it was reconstruction company, securitization company. Now it is only one asset reconstruction company, which can do both the reconstruction of financial asset activity as well as the securitization activity. The company is to be registered with the Reserve Bank of India under Section 3 of the SARFAESI Act. Minimum net owned fund will be 2 crore, which is now enhanced to
100
100
crore.
crore. This is now enhanced to rupees 100 crore. Okay. Thereafter, if you see the preconditions to obtain the certificate, what are the preconditions? If you can just attempt to answer, what are the preconditions?
It has not incurred any losses in preceding 3 financial years.
Forget, sorry, perfect. So it has got no losses in the preceding 3 financial years, right? Thereafter, the asset,
Adequate arrange.
very good, adequate arrangements. Go ahead, Mansi.
Director have not any moral offense of moral turpitude.
Okay, so that point is also there, but the ARC has made adequate arrangements for the realization of the financial assets. If you remember, I had said the bouncers and all
Yes.
are ready for the recovery. Then also it has made adequate arrangements for the asset reconstruction. Correct, Ruchira? Sponsor is a fit and proper person. And then also they have made adequate arrangements for the periodical payments and the redemption of the investments on the respective due dates. Then the directors, They have adequate professional expertise in the matters related to finance securitization. Then the directors must not have convicted in any offense under moral turpitude. Then sponsor is also a fit and proper person. And then the ARC has also complied with the prudential norms, which is given by the Reserve Bank of India. Correct. And if there is any other condition that needs to be complied with. Now we have the sponsor. Uh, correct, Ruchira. Prudential norms. Now, the sponsor of the asset reconstruction company, the application will be made to the Reserve Bank of India. If RBI is satisfied that the conditions are met, then in that case, RBI will grant the certificate of registration. If RBI is not satisfied, the application will get rejected. Of course, before rejecting the application, reasonable opportunity of being heard will be given. Then there are certain actions which the asset reconstruction company, if it takes, it needs to obtain prior approval of the Reserve Bank of India. Can you tell me what are the activities which require prior approval of Reserve Bank of India?
If it
Sub-
fails in all these conditions of registration,
No, Neelam.
why
any
is that?
No, I'm
substantial
not talking about the cancellation. What you have just said is it
Yes,
can be
sir.
one of the reason for cancellation.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
It's for prior approval of RBI
Okay,
before
okay.
taking certain actions.
substantial change in the management,
Very good. Substantial change in the management. Then
Change in registered office or location.
correct.
Okay.
Change in the location of the registered office. Very good.
change of name,
Change of name. Right. And what is substantial? This will be the RBI's decision. RBI is going to answer whether it is a substantial change or not. Otherwise, what is substantial? How would you identify whether the change is substantial or not? If it is due to the share swap arrangement, any kind of transfer of shares, right? Issue of shares.
affecting sponsorship,
Correct, which affects the sponsorship. That is going to result in the change in the management, substantial change in the management. Thereafter, we have section number 4. So, Ruchira, the last comment that you have mentioned in the that is for the cancellation. So, don't get confused between these two. So, cancellation of the certificate. So now, Neelam, we can say that if the conditions are not met, then the certificate will get cancelled. If the ARC ceases to carry on the business, then it fails to comply with the conditions upon which the registration was granted. If it ceases to hold any investment from the qualified buyers, it fails to comply with the directions issued by the Reserve Bank of India, maintain accounts as per the RBI, or submits or offers for inspection its books of accounts. And if it fails to obtain the prior approval from the Reserve Bank of India, if they do these three changes, right? So they have to take the RBI approval, and if they don't do, then in that case, the registration gets cancelled. Then we have section 5, which provides the acquisition of the rights or the investments in the financial asset. So borrower will transfer the security interest to the bank. Bank will transfer it to the asset reconstruction company, right? And in that case, the asset reconstruction company becomes the deemed lender, and it can also file the case in any DRT or DRAT for the recovery. Yes or no? How does this transfer takes place? So under 5A or 51A or 51B, doesn't matter. And the transfer is again exempt from the stamp duty. Okay, this transfer is exempted from the stamp duty. Now, notice to the obligor. So, who is obligor? Again,
Borrower.
borrower,
again the same
borrower,
question. Very good. Obligor is the borrower. Then what is the bank?
Originator.
originator,
Originator. Perfect. So the notice will be given to the obligor, any other concerned person, and also to the registering authority. Then under section 7, the security receipts will be issued, right, to the ARC. So the ARC is going to issue the security receipts to the qualified buyers, and they'll issue it via different schemes, right? Just like how mutual fund makes different scheme, they'll make the scheme. The money will be kept again in the trust, and the provisions of Indian Trust Act will apply mutatis mutandis. There will be separate account for each of the scheme. Correct. The provisions, the realization of the financial assets will be applied to that individual schemes, and the redemptions will be made under that relevant scheme only. This is so that you have the segregation of the money, and if there is any loss, it should not disrupt the payments for the other investors, right? Then in case of the non-realization, then qualified buyers holding the security receipts of at least 75% of the total value, what they are going to do if the amount is not realized, what they are going to do? they are going to call for a meeting, yes or no, of all the qualified buyers, and then whatever decision they are going to take in that, it will be binding on the ARC, correct? Do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How this meeting will be conducted, or what should be taken into consideration?
जैसे बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स की
एग्जैक्टली
मीटिंग होती
जैसे बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स का मीटिंग होता है वैसा ही मीटिंग यहाँ पे होगा. ओके, सो वी हैव डन दिस. नाउ we discussed the SARFAESI. In SARFAESI we have already covered the SA activity. Now we have the RAFA activity, reconstruction of financial asset. So reconstruction of financial asset, we have first is the takeover of the management of the business of the borrower. Then you have sale, lease, right, of the part or whole of the business of the borrower. Now just understand, this is again, you also have the ASI rules for this, right? You have the rules, plus you also have section number 15. There also you take over the business of the, but what is the difference between section 9 takeover of the business and section 15 takeover of the business? What is the difference?
सर इसमें एनपीए होना जरूरी नहीं है इन दिस कंडीशन
करेक्ट, यहाँ पे
और
एनपीए होना जरूरी नहीं है, एंड ये सिक्योर्ड अनसिक्योर्ड क्रेडिटर कोई भी कर सकता है. Reconstruction of financial asset, if you try to understand, this is more like a negotiated deal. Okay, borrower, secured creditor, दोनों आमने सामने बैठते हैं और ये आपस में डिसाइड कर लेते हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज विद हियर. बट जब सेक्शन 15 के अंदर आपका मैनेजमेंट टेक ओवर होगा, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी post the account becomes a NPA, the 60 days notice is served and all those things, right? Then you have rescheduling the payments. Thereafter, we have enforcement of security interest, and then the settlement of the dues which is payable by the borrower, taking possession of the secured asset, conversion of any part of the debt into equity or into the shares, right? So this is there. So
सर
yes,
सर ये जो डी में इन्फोर्समेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट है तो सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट इन मींस
अभी आपके मन में शायद यही डाउट आया था.
यस सर
Exactly. So if you read the reconstruction of financial assets, it also includes the ESI activity. It also includes the ESI activity. But of course, if you want to do the ESI activity, you have to be a secured creditor, one, and second, it has to be done as per section 13 only. See, अगर आप एक normal term देखो, reconstruction of financial asset, अगर आप reconstruction of financial asset देखो तो reconstruction का क्या मतलब है?
एडिशन डिलीशन या जो भी मतलब उसमें आपको
हाँ, आप यहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ चेंजेस लेके आ रहे हो, राइट? These changes can be negotiated also,
यस
right? Or these changes can be like a statutory force. It can be mandatory also, right? Or you can say this can be hostile also. The person doesn't want to give you, but you still take it, right? तो ऐसा भी हो सकता है. So जरूरी नहीं है, but yes, अगर आप इस पूरे लिस्ट में देखो, तो जैसे टेक ओवर ऑफ द बिजनेस में, अब ये जैसे रीशेड्यूलिंग, इसके लिए अगर आप अनसिक्योर्ड हो तो भी आपका काम हो सकता है. सेल और लीज अनसिक्योर्ड हो तो भी हो सकता है, बट इसके लिए तो आपको सिक्योर्ड होना पड़ेगा. कन्वर्शन ऑफ डेट इनटू इक्विटी, if you even if you are unsecured, you can do this. Takeover of the business of the borrower, here also, though practically this is not possible, but even if you are unsecured, you can do this. But yes, taking possession of the secured asset, for this you will have to be secured, correct? So again, the enforcement of security interest, it is absolutely as per section 13 only.
बट सर जैसे इन्फोर्समेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट लिखा है और टेकिंग पोजीशन ऑफ सिक्योर्ड एसेट है तो ये सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट और सिक्योर्ड एसेट ऐसा क्यों है वहां पे दोनों वर्ड मतलब
सो
यहाँ पे
ये सेक्शन 9 का ड्राफ्टिंग है, ये उसका इशू है.
अच्छा
ये सेक्शन 9 का ड्राफ्टिंग का इशू है. सो व्हेन यू रीड दिस, it looks like the RAFA activity includes ESI, और जब आप ESI पढ़ते हो तो वहां पर देखो आपको रिकंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ फाइनेंशियल एसेट का एक्टिविटीज दिखता है, जैसे कि टेक ओवर ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट, टेकिंग पोजेशन ऑफ द सिक्योर्ड एसेट्स. So this is the drafting, I would say, issue.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
And why I could sense that you are asking the same doubt, because every batch I get the same question. And when I was a student, even I had the same doubt that how come, Sarface has got, here you have the same thing. Okay. So other functions of ARC. So asset reconstruction company is going to act as the manager, receiver, or agent of the bank or the financial institutions, right? Of the bank or the financial institution. Then we have the ESI activity. So to do ESI activity, these are the 5 steps. So first step, there should be a default. Then the account should become an NPA. Then the demand notice will be served. Borrower may make any representation or objection. Take into consideration that after that, if the amount is unpaid, then you can enforce the security interest. You get the right to enforce the security interest. So in case of enforcement of security interest, what are the measures available? This is given in section 13 subsection 4. So you can take possession of the secured asset of the borrower. Now from here onwards, we will also cover the ESI rules. Okay. So it's not just the revision part which we are doing, we'll also cover the ESI rules. So you can take possession of the secured asset of the borrower. The security interest is created. This is similar to the RAFA activity. So Astha ji, just see this. This is similar to the RAFA activity. This secured asset can be both movable as well as the immovable property. And how will you take possession? This will be as per the enforcement rules, security interest enforcement rules 2002. By the way, I have put a copy of this enforcement rules in your folder also. I have added then the latest rules which are there. I have updated that in your folder as well. Okay, then you can take over of the management of the business of the borrower. This is to be read with section 15 as I mentioned, and there is a RBI guideline that who can take over. So it's not just that you can randomly take over the business of the management, right? This can be done when the amount due is equal to or greater than 25% of the total assets of the borrower. So if 100 crore is invested by the borrower in the business, and let's say your loan amount is 30 crore, only then you can do this. Then on what grounds? So the new syllabus module do not have this grounds. These grounds I have picked up from the old syllabus module. In the old syllabus module, I'll show you these are the grounds are mentioned in your module. I'll tell you in which page number, but new syllabus, this is not there in your module, but this is very well part of the rules. Just cover it. So it's not that you can take over of the management of the business of the borrower just randomly. One of the condition is this. And when does the business of the borrower will be taken? When there is a willful default by the borrower, or let's say the borrower's business is being carried out in such a way which is adversely affecting the interest of the creditor. The borrower is not competent to run the business, or if there is lack of key managerial personnel or the expert person who can handle the business, or let's say the borrower has sold or disposed of or created charge, right? Or created charge or encumbered the assets of the business, which is in aggregate 10% or more. If there are reasonable grounds to believe that the borrower is not going to repay the debt, or let's say the company has entered into some compromise or arrangement without affecting the prior approval of the secured creditor, and that is adversely affecting the secured creditor. Now we have this ground here, but practically if you see in section 230, 232, 233, you have to take the prior approval of creditors. Yes or no? So this compromise and arrangement will not happen as per the under section 232, but still we have this part. But of course 235 can take place, because in 235 you don't require any uh, creditors approval, you just require the approval from the members of the company. But of course when you see this part, this rule, takeover, that becomes more like a takeover, so that's why they have this. Or if the borrower has discontinued the business which is part of almost 10% or more of the turnover, business of the borrower is damaged due to the actions of the borrower, there is a dispute between the management or the, let's say, owners of the business, then loan is not utilized for which it was availed, or if, let's say, the borrower enters into any fraudulent transaction with respect to the assets of the borrower which is secured by the secured creditor. So in these grounds will be there on which the management of the business of the borrower will be taken over. I don't know how important is this, but if you get a question, I think if you write these points, you'll get. So just try to remember at least 6, 7 of these points, not very difficult. That will be helpful for you in the exam, right? And this is there in the module. So I'll write it here. This is there in the module, but old syllabus module. This is not there in the new syllabus module. They have cut short a lot of provisions of insolvency, right? They have gone deep to IBC, but for others like SARFAESI, winding up, cross-border insolvency, they have anyway cut short a lot of provisions there. Now, then they can also appoint a manager who is going to manage the secured assets whose possession is taken. Then they can require any person who has acquired the assets of the secured asset from the borrower and from whom the money is due. So they can ask the person to pay that money, not to the borrower, but directly to the bank. And that will be again a valid discharge for the loan. Any security interest which is created can be enforced without the intervention of the court. This is given in section 13, but the debt should be secured. And then second condition is that the debt should become a non-performing asset only then. Does every debt have to become a non-performing asset, or if there is, there is an exception that there are certain debts which need not be a non-performing asset, but still the enforcement.
Debenture
Very good,
And
very
debt
good.
securities.
Right, the debt securities. In case of debt security, so in case of debt securities, who is going to enforce the security interest? Debenture holders.
Debenture trustee.
Okay, very good. So you have one exception that in case of the debt securities, no need of NPA. Then what is the requirement?
Sir,
90
90 days
days.
after
90 days. Correct. So debt securities, and secondly, who is going to enforce? It is going to be the trustee. Right. Then the notice is given. It acts like a reasonable opportunity of being heard to the borrower. 60 days notice will be given prior to the ESI activity. And Astaji, what will be mentioned in the notice? What will be mentioned in the notice?
And your account will be NPA
Okay. And
and
आपका डाउट था, एक आपका डाउट था, उसके रिगार्ड में मैंने ये क्वेश्चन पूछा है आपसे। लास्ट क्लास में हमने रिकॉर्डिंग किया, उसके पहले हमने ये डाउट आपका लिया था। We had discussed this doubt. Which secured asset and what action will be taken? Remember?
okay, yes sir, yes sir.
प्रोवाइजो के
Sir.
अंदर था ना? या
सर पहले तो वो उसको नोटिस देगा ना कि आप अपनी डिस्चार्ज करो लाइबिलिटीज।
नहीं, वो ऐसा नोटिस नहीं होगा. It will be same notice that please clear the. It will be one single notice in which the person will be asked to pay the money, and it will be mentioned that if the payment is not made, 61st day, this is going to be the activity I am going to take. तो दो नोटिस नहीं जाएगा. फिर उस नोटिस पे the borrower is going to make a representation that please don't take this action or we will repay. Let's do RAFA activity, not the ESI activity. Got it?
यस सर।
अभी कनेक्ट हो रहा है आस्था जी? अभी कनेक्ट हो रहा है? सेक्शन 9 में
Yes
जो
sir,
ESI
yes.
था, तो ESI में फिर वहां पे वो ESI से आप रफा एक्टिविटी करने लग जाओगे. सो दिस इज हाउ इट गोस, राइट? देन अगेन whatever the takeover will be done, enforcement will be as per the ESI rules. Now, what secured creditor is going to do? So now you will get this. The secured creditor is now whatever we are discussing is all from the ESI rules. The secured creditor is going to issue the demand notice. This demand notice will be in writing. This will be issued by the secured creditor or by his authorized officer. The secured creditor is going to deliver this notice either by hand delivery or by registered post with AD. What is this AD? Acknowledgement due. Correct, Shridevi ji. Or through email or through courier, right? Then after this, let's say the borrower is trying to avoid the notice. By the way, I would also share sometimes the show cause notices, when the show cause notices are issued, the assessee tries to avoid the notice, right? This I'm telling you from the securities law point of view, not related to SARFAESI, but in general. So let's say a SEBI has issued you a show cause notice. Let's say Mansi, आपके घर पे show cause notice आया. You open the door, the watchman, or basically the postman asks you, are you Mansi? You say no, no, there is no Mansi, because you know that the show cause notice has been issued. So आप वो लेटर लेने से मना कर देते हो कि यहाँ पे मानसी नाम का कोई इंसान नहीं रहता. Please take back. So you believe that you have technically you have not received the notice. So till the time you don't receive the notice, how will you show the cause? How will you reply to that? So you try to do this. But if you try to do this, what SEBI would do? SEBI would publish the show cause notice on its website, and that is a valid show cause notice. And उसके बाद में जो भी time activity है वो ले सकते हैं. So why I discuss this? Because the same thing is going to happen here, that when the notice will be served to the borrower may try to avoid the notice, stating that the person is not staying here, or let's say he will not open the door. Any activity the borrower does to avoid the notice, then in that case, the creditor will have a solution. So he will affix the copy of the demand notice on the outer door of the house or the building. Which house? The house in which he resides or the building in which he works. And he will also publish the content of the demand notice in the two leading newspaper, out of which one newspaper will be the vernacular, and which will show a sufficient cause that the demand notice has been served. So even if the borrower tries to avoid, so this is the question would be something like this. What if the borrower avoids notice of secured creditor? What course of action secured creditor can take in such case? So these are the course of actions which will be taken. A, affix the copy of the order or the demand notice, and B, publish the content, right? Then the secured creditor gives the notice to the borrower. The borrower may raise the objections or make representations. These representations will be made within how many days?
15 days.
Very good. Within 15 days. So within 15 days, the representations are made, and these representations may be accepted or the representations may be rejected. Okay. So the secured creditor may not accept such representations or may accept and make such modifications or pass the suitable orders. Whatever the decision is, secured creditor is going to communicate it to the borrower. Now, procedure after the issue of notice. So after the issue of notice, the borrower will have to wait for, the creditor is going to wait for how many days? 60. Right.
60.
Right. So if the amount mentioned in the demand notice is still unpaid, the secured creditor's authorized officer can proceed to realize the amount by adopting any one of the measures mentioned in section 13 subsection 4. But of course, after 60 days, the secured asset, as I mentioned, can be a movable property or it can be an immovable property. Now, as per the ESI rules, if it's a movable property, how you are going to do the recovery, and if it's an immovable property, how you're going to do the recovery, you have a provision for that also. So this is how the enforcement of security interest if a secured asset is a movable property. So basically the authorized officer will be there of the secured creditor who is going to take the possession of that movable property, and then the authorized officer can take, or rather must take, as much as care of the property as like the owner would take in the ordinary prudence. This is common point. If such property is subject to speedy or natural decay, then again the expenses whichever is to be done for take for example, it's a stock, it's the stock of the borrower. Now this stock is, let's say, worth 50 crores, and I say the loan is, let's say, 60 crores. Now this stock requires cold storage. This stock requires cold storage, and to arrange the cold storage or whatever thing, or to maintain this cold storage, the bank realizes that bank will have to spend, let's say, 53 crores. I'm just giving you a big example, right? If the stock is going to decay, or if there is going to, they will have a speedy decay, right? It is going to fast, and the authorized officer realizes that the amount which is required to maintain this asset is going to be more than the value of this asset. स्टॉक का वैल्यू है 50 करोड़, और इसको खराब होने से बचाने के लिए 53 करोड़ देना पड़ेगा. In this case, what the authorized officer can do, the authorized officer may sell it at once. So within, otherwise before selling you have to give the notice and all, we'll see that. But otherwise, if it is subject to speedy or natural decay, or let's say the expenses of keeping such property in the custody is likely to exceed its value, then the authorized officer is going to sell it at once. Valuation of the movable property. So authorized officer is going to obtain the uh, valuation of that, consult with the secured creditor, fix a reserve price. This reserve price acts like a base price. Yes or no? This is going to be the base price, and it should not be sold below this price. Mode of sale would be either in quotations, it can obtain the quotations, or it can do invitation of the tender from the public, hold public auction, or it can be private treaty. Now just see, if it is quotation or private treaty, there is no problem. But in these two cases, since it's a public auction or tender from public, the public has to be known. So what is the best way to inform public that there is such property which is subject to sale? How will you inform the public?
Newspaper.
Newspaper. So in these two cases, you'll have to give a public notice in two newspapers, one of which would be vernacular language. Then the authorized officer is going to give the notice to the borrower of 30 days for the sale of movable assets, for the sale of the movable secured assets. So you see, 60 plus 90 plus you have this 30 days, right? After taking over the asset, movable property, the authorized officer is going to mention that within 30 days, I am going to sell it. So I have invited quotations and all. This is where we say if the sale is successful, the payment of the sale price is received or is not received. So let's say the goods are sold. So bank has done the ESI activity on the stock of Mansi, and it has sold to Neelam, but Neelam has not paid the money, right? So second time default ho gaya. A second person has done the default. Then on this default, the property will be again sold. So let's say now the property will be again taken back from Neelam and it will be sold to some other person. Got it? But if the sale price is received, that is going to be a valid discharge, and the authorized officer is going to issue a certificate which will be a prima facie evidence of the title to the purchaser. So I'll give you an example. Let's say Mansi is the borrower. Mansi is the borrower. So here the property is sold to, let's say, Neelam. So here from Neelam, the property will be taken back and it is going to be sold to, let's say, Ruchira. And if the payment is received, the certificate will be issued by the authorized officer, and that will be the prima facie evidence for the purchaser. So either now you are the true, or let's say you are the new owner of the property. Because let's say in future, if Neelam wants to sell this property to someone else, the other person would ask, you have to prove the ownership. So this certificate, which is issued by the authorized officer, this is going to prove your ownership. Okay. But if the sale is not successful, if the authorized officer is not able to sell the property, then in that case, authorized officer is again going to publish the notice and try to sell it again. And this will be again after 15 days. So 15 days notice will be given. So this is for the movable property. Now, if it's an immovable property, again, the process is going to be absolutely same. Here, the authorized officer will take possession of the asset. Then if it's a movable property, you can take the, like if it's the, it was the stock, like in this example, it was the stock. It was Mansi's stock. So the stock was again loaded in a truck and it was got to the godown of the ARC. Okay. But if it's an immovable property, of course, you cannot go and take the possession directly, right? Physical possession cannot be taken. So what the bank is going to do, bank is going to affix the possession notice on the door of the property. So have you seen in those movies? So let's say this is the property. Here you have the gate. So here they put that round seal and they'll put this notice. Sometimes if you notice, even in Mumbai, I see a lot of the places, they affix a board. There's a empty vacant land and there is a board. Have you seen that? This
Yes,
land
sir.
belongs to this, or this is a disputed land. There is one such property right up opposite to my place. I'll click a picture in the evening. I'll send it to you all. Right. ये property अभी विवादित है इस तरह से करके. So same way you will get this kind of a notice, right? So this notice will be given. So this is basically a proof that this property has been taken over or the possession has been taken over by the authorized officer. This will also be, the possession notice will also be published on the two leading newspaper. Of course, one of that will be vernacular language, and this will be done within 7 days of taking of the possession. Then the authorized officer should again take care. So don't you think these three are same except for this? There the physical possession can be taken. Here the possession notice will be done, right? Now, before effecting the sale, the authorized officer will again have to do the valuation of the property, same like the movable property, in consultation with the secured creditor. And what is to be done? You need to make a base price. Yes or no? You need to fix the reserve price, right? Now, before effecting this, so authorized officer is going to serve the notice to the borrower. Again, 30 days for the sale of the property. This 30 days time period is again the same, that the property is not going to be sold within these 30 days because of course you are inviting the claims and all. But if also in during these 30 days, the uh, payment is made by the borrower, or if any third person comes and makes the payment on behalf of the borrower, the bank is not going to sell the property. Remember, we did it in the Bear Act also from the module. If the payments are made, then the bank is not allowed to sell. The secured creditor is not allowed to sell. So if 30 days time period is given for the sale, if the sale is done, it's good. If the sale is not successful, right, then in that case, again, after 15 days notice, the resale is going to happen. The mode of sale will be again same, obtain the quotation, private treaty, or inviting public tender or public auction. So again, you'll have to give the public notice in the two leading newspapers, out of which one will be the vernacular language. And this must be settled between the secured creditor and the proposed purchaser in writing. So what is this? Basically, the transaction, who is the owner? The owner is the borrower. But again, the transaction will get settled between the secured creditor and the proposed purchaser. So basically, Manse will not come into picture, right? Even if the owner of the property is Mansi, but the transaction is going to take place between Neelam and the bank, or let's say the secured creditor. Okay. Then the sale or the offer price will be the highest price, right? It's a auction, and then it should not be less than the reserve price. On the sale of the immovable property, the purchaser should pay. So in case of movable property, the entire consideration is to be paid immediately or within the next working day. In case of immovable property, 25% is to be paid same day or in the next working day, and balance to be paid on or before the 15th day from the date of sale. However, the bank can also give an extension, but that should not be more than 3 months. Now, let's say the person has paid 25% and the balance is not paid. The balance was defaulted. Then in that case, this 25% will be forfeited and the property would be again resold. Okay. Guys, this is clear. And before the publication of the notice, if all the dues of the secured creditor together with all the charges and expenses are paid, then the secured asset will not be sold. It will be restored to the borrower. Got it? Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Then in case of consortium, of loan, then again the ESI activity can take place. But again, the creditors with at least 60% in the value, they will take the decision, and that the decision is going to be binding on all. Also, if there is a guarantor, so is it mandatory that the secured creditor should first go to the borrower and then come to the guarantor? Or after the default, the secured creditor can directly go to the guarantor also?
सर वो किसी के पास भी जा सकता है ना?
Right. So ये mandatory नहीं है. So it's not mandatory that step one, the ESI activity is to be done against the borrower, and then for the balance recovery, the secured creditor will come to the guarantor. The secured creditor can straight away proceed against the guarantor. Okay. Now let's say the dues are 100 crore. The amount recovered is 80. What is the next course of action? What is the next course of action for the secured creditor?
DRT में जा
DRT.
So secured creditor is going to make application to the DRT for the balance recovery. Okay. And this will be done within 45 days. So this is the appeal part that I am discussing right now. Then appeal to the DRAT. So this can be done by the secured creditor also, and also by the borrower. So SC, you may get confused. This is not Supreme Court. This is secured creditor. So appeal to the DRAT can be made by the secured creditor, or it can be done by the borrower. Right here in this case, then DRAT any person can do within 30 days of the order of the DRT. And if the appellant is the borrower, then the borrower will have to deposit at least 50% of the amount dues. Now, the DRAT can reduce this amount to 25%, again for the reasons to be recorded in writing. Earlier it was what? 75% has to be deposited. Yes or no? Remember the Mardia chemical case, right?
Yes, sir.
So now you don't have to do such thing. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have the last provision, that is the central registry, right? So for the central registry, again, it is set up by the central government. Okay, the central registry is set up. By the way, just understand what is central registry. Like how in case of a company, you have the provision of charge. Okay. When you create charge, you inform to the ROC. Yes or no? So whenever the charge is created or the charge is modified, right? Or the charge is satisfied, you inform to the ROC. And once you inform it to the ROC, this is what? This is the conclusive proof. Correct? Now, when the charge is created, either the company can go. If the company does not agree, then any other person can. So basically, the other concerned party can go to this ROC and can inform them. Same here, the central registry is there. Central registry will be headed by a central registrar, and the secured creditor, the asset reconstruction company, they can come here, and whatever activity they do, whether it's the SA activity or the RAFA activity or the ESI activity, they're going to inform it to the central registry. So the central registry is set up by the central government. And what is the purpose? For the purpose of registration of the transactions, right? The transactions of securitization or reconstruction of financial asset or the creation of the security interest. So any activity which is done by the asset reconstruction company, that will be registered here. It will set up a head office, and the branch office of the central registry will be set up at various places. Now, the powers of the central government is delegated to the Reserve Bank of India. Okay. And then the central government may obtain a person for the purpose of this registration, and that person is called as the central registrar. So appoint such officers who is going to be the central registrar. The central registrar is going to maintain the record of the SA activity, RAFA activity, and the ESI activity, particulars of every transaction, every modification which is done, and every satisfaction of the charge. So once the payments are done, or let's say the enforcement of security interest is done, any such thing is done, within 30 days, it needs to be informed to the, uh, basically, it needs to be informed to the central registrar. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
बस इतना ही पढ़ना, सेंट्रल रजिस्ट्री के लिए सिर्फ इतना सा ही पढ़ना, इसके बियॉन्ड कोई क्वेश्चन आपको नहीं मिलेगा. Okay, this is that you have to study for the central registry, right? And this person is called as the central register. He is going to maintain a central registry. So just understand, the person is central registrar. This officer,
सर
yes,
ये पावर वाला पॉइंट एक बार बताएंगे
कौन सा वाला? ये वाला.
डेलीगेशन ऑफ
So
पावर
basically, जैसे कंपनीज एक्ट में नहीं होता, the power of central government is delegated to regional director or to
Yes,
the
sir.
ROC. Same
Yes,
way,
sir.
it is delegated to the Reserve Bank of India.
हाँ सर वही मेरे को लगता है
Same thing. Okay. And this is the document. The central register is the document. Right. अब ये देखो, ये आपका सारफेसी का मैंने क्विक चार्ट बना के रखा हुआ है. So net owned fund of 100 crore. So section 2 is for the definition. Section 3 is for the setting up of the ARC. Company plus RBI, net owned fund, 3-year losses, adequate arrangements, management, comply prudential norms, ye, cancellation of the ARC. This was one part. Second part is the acquisition of the financial asset. So notwithstanding exempted from the stamp duty, notice to the obliger. Section 7, the securitization activity, issue the security receipts to the qualified buyer, an exemption from the registration here. Then we have section 9, which is the reconstruction of financial assets, right? And then we have section 10, the other functions of the ARC. And then section 13, the ESI activity, when the default takes place, ye sub NPA notice 60 days. Section 13, subsection 4, the 4 activities which are there. Then section 14, which is application to the chief metropolitan magistrate or the district magistrate for the possession of the secured asset. Then section 15, the management will be taken over. RBI guidelines, this we have already discussed. Then section 16, no compensation for the loss of office. Section 18C, right to lodge a caveat. Then section 20 is for the central registry. Section 31, where we say the situations where SARFAESI Act will not apply. And section 34, the civil court will have no jurisdiction. And we have section 36, which is for the Limitation Act, right? So this is what you have to study in SARFAESI. Next lecture, we are going to start with DRT. So this is that DRT part. Before DRT, SARFAESI is done. So for old syllabus, your one chapter of SARFAESI is completely done. And for the new syllabus student, your 50% of the chapter is done. Now the balance chapter that we have is a very simple part, which I'll cover it tomorrow in the next lecture. Okay. Is this clear? Just study SARFAESI in detail, right? You can also go through the past papers also of SARFAESI and let me know if there is any doubt. We'll start with that tomorrow and then we will go ahead with the debt recovery chapter. Okay. DRT is a very short chapter. DRT is a very short chapter because you just have to see what is going to be the composition of DRT, what is going to be the composition of DRAT, who is going to be the presiding officer, what are their qualifications and all, and some basic provisions which are applicable for the applications to be made to DRT. Otherwise, it's a very short chapter. The major chunk was the SARFAESI Act, which we have completed today. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then since the exams have got postponed, utilize this time, right? That's it for today's lecture then.